Hi, Jason. So, what can you tell us about the latest Consumer Price Index report and what that means?
Yeah, hi Holly. Thanks for having me. So the report came out this morning. The inflation data came out a little bit, a little bit hotter, meaning higher than initially expected by about a tenth of a percent. So overall inflation for the month of January was up 0.5%. They were predicting zero point 0.4. Year over year, it has declined though from 6.5 to 6.4. So you can kind of look at it as like it's it's still declining just at a slower rate from January. But the important takeaway from this is this data is a month old, and we are seeing still deflationary pressure coming in from various sectors. It's just not, sometimes 1 month isn't a big enough picture to see the overall trend, but things are still trending in the right direction.
Yeah, so that is really useful to take into account is that the data is from the previous month. So, have you seen any signs on your end of the direction that it's heading moving forward?
Yeah, so one of the key factors of this percentage that they come out with for the core consumer price index is the shelter or housing expense.
Yeah.
So rents were increasing even through January a bit, and then they try to predict home ownership expenses and home sales prices. It's a little more difficult to do that, but all the shelter expenses combined make up almost 40% of this figure that they released this morning. But again, it is older data, so we are starting to see some deflationary pressure coming in for housing, and because it's such a big factor for this figure that came out, then next month, if things continue trending downward with home prices and rent and whatnot, it should have a pretty big impact and show the true, overall picture of how inflation's coming down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I know that from what I saw in the market, it seemed like December may have been a real low for us in our area, pricing wise. But
Mhm.
January was a bit slower too. There just wasn't a lot of inventory, so it'll be interesting to see how the numbers actually reflect because it does look like homes that are coming on the market now do seem to be higher in price than what we were seeing around here the end of last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think sellers are still trying to, capture as much as they possibly can before, things settle down even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see as we continue to move forward. I still think everything's trending in the right direction. It's just not going to be entirely linear every single month.
Yeah.
And then we do have, unfortunately, we are though at the mercy of the reaction to the markets at times. So between the jobs report from a week and a half ago, coming in way hotter than expected, and that's another topic that we can get into at a later time too. But between that and then today, we have seen rates swing back up fairly significantly in the last week and a half. And again, a lot of that does have to do with the knee-jerk reaction of the markets. So we may see it start cooling off maybe in the next couple weeks and leveling off a little bit, hopefully, and then continue trending downward as we move into March and April as well. So it's important for buyers to remember that day by day, you can't get too spooked by some of the market swings, but it is good reason to check in with your loan officer and realtor to make
Yeah.
sure, like, hey, am I still on the right track here? What can I expect with these different changes in the market?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really important to note is that you really can't just gauge the market on a couple of headlines that are out there. And even just, I'm sure the headlines for the rest of this week are going to be about how high the rates have jumped, because they went up last Friday and then they went up again, this week and like you said today. So it'll be interesting, but I think buyers just need to ultimately keep an eye on what they can get and how the home prices are responding. And I really think too that if you are out there looking to buy, really good data to look at, even though it might be a little bit older, is to look at what have the homes been selling for versus what they were asking, and how long did it take for them to sell? Because there's a lot to be said about like the timing of things.
Yeah, timing's everything. And going back to what you said about headlines, I mean that's how the news likes to project things. A lot of it is doom and gloom when it's bad news,
Yeah.
and it tends to scare people. So yeah, I mean, I would just encourage everyone to, talk with your trusted advisors about what's really happening here, and that way you can get make a more informed decision. But yeah, I mean, the data, looking at the home prices, what they were listed for, what they sold for, market timing, all of that is great information to help buyers make decisions, and sellers as well, if they're looking to list at this time.
Yeah, I think what I'm definitely seeing is that there is a trend where, like you said, sellers still want to see how much they can get. So I am seeing homes come on the market at higher prices than I think, might have been expected. And honestly, depending on the condition of the home or depending on what the competition is, what else is out there, some of these homes are getting top dollar and selling really fast.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's still a lot of market share out there for people. There's still good deals to be had for buyers. And on the positive, we still are almost 1% lower than the peak interest rates that we saw in the fall last year.
Yeah.
So things are trending downward, and it should continue to do so, as we move further along into the year.
Yeah. So buyers, definitely a reminder that if you want to, I know more buyers are out there looking just based on the amount of activity that I can see on the listings. If you are thinking about looking, honestly, you need to talk to a lender and find out what you can be approved for. Because if you do get into a position where you want to make an offer and it's on a hot property that's going to sell fast, you don't stand, any ground if you don't have a pre-approval letter ready to go. So talk
Right.
to
Yeah. I mean, yes, yes. I'm happy to help anyone that has any questions. Feel free. And yeah, there are still some good deals to be had even on the loan side. I mean, just because you see the average interest rate, creeping back up into the mid sixes, that doesn't mean that there aren't loans out there, depending on your situation, where you can still get something in the fives. Adjustable rates are a really good product to take a look at as well right now, and some of them are discounted quite a bit more than the 30-year fix, depending on, again, what your situation is. So, speak with the lender first, of course, before just taking that and running with it. But there are definitely options still out there, even not receiving any concessions that could potentially get you in the fives still.
Yeah, and one other final note is just with regards to home prices and what they have sold for. I think it is interesting because a lot of buyers have been utilizing the buy downs from sellers being able to contribute to get their interest rate lower. Sometimes you'll see a sales price and you won't necessarily know that there was a concession like that built in. So agents like myself can get you more of that data just so you understand too that you may have an opportunity to get a great house, bake in that lower interest rate, even though you might not understand that that's reflected in the price tag.
Yeah, it's a really good point to keep in mind, and these concessions that are potentially available to you from a seller are huge in helping out with a qualification. And sometimes you can discount your rate by up to 1% just by getting some help from the seller. So definitely don't discount that as well. Speak with an expert for real estate like Holly here, and she can help negotiate some of those deals for you.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Holly.